before. Could have guessed that you were 5. You smell like a bagel. Adult girls make me cry. You float my old tugboat in my bountiful depends. I wish I was special. You're so f***ing special. But I'm a creep. I'm a pedo. How the hell did I get here? How did I get here? I know my butt's been wide.
What? Big what?
I can't help when I pee. I want a perfect toddler. I want a perfect tween. I hope they don't notice when I'm sniffing round. You're so f***ing special. These kids smell so special. But I'm a creep. I'm a pedo. How the hell did I get here? How did I get here? See.
By the way, you gave me permission to touch you.
Sniffing kids makes me happy. It's all I ever want. They smell f***ing special. These kids smell so special. But I'm a creep. I'm a pedo. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I know some of you are asking, is there going to be a softened Louder with Crowder? Nope. When we return.
Nope.
Tom York is rolling over in his, well, he's not, but if he had a grave, his googly grave. By the way, this is all made possible instead of phoning it in by joining Mug Club, louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. Glad to be with you. Yesterday we set records with people off of YouTube on Rumble. So head over there. There's a whole month free right now on Rumble. The extended show, what you usually miss if you're not a Mug Club member, just go to Rumble and you get to watch it for free. Also, well, I'll go through it. We have a lot to get to today, okay? First off, Dylan Mulvaney is, I don't want to hit the YouTube dump button just yet, but you can guess. We'll be talking about Dylan Mulvaney dressing like a child. One does. New study has come out that coffee is racist. Lindsey Graham, of course, wants to start World War III, and the D.C. deputy mayor is a pervert. And we're also going to get into Donald Trump and voters of color is the term. Voters of color.
VOC.
Colored voters. The United Colored Voters Fund. You can say United Negroes College Fund is still around.
What's the thing?
And where he's making gains. And we're also, of course, on Trump arrest watch. So there's a lot to get to. Gerald A., how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hoping that everyone on YouTube, if you're still, just migrate over to Rumble.
Why are you on YouTube still?
Just please migrate over to Rumble, especially today.
Yes.
Because in third chair today, and he'll be broadcasting from the studio. You know him, you love him, but not so controversial now. Like a cuddly teddy bear. I hope he's okay with me saying that. You can watch his show today at noon Eastern on MadMaxWorld.tv because we can't share the link for InfoWars. Alex Jones, how are you, sir?
It's good to be here. Congratulations on the fact that your show went #1 in the first day that it launched. That is a big deal to pull those type of numbers. I know some of, back when Joe Rogan was still on YouTube, some of his biggest consecutive viewers was like when I was on Elon Musk, it would hit about 150, 170, and they were calling those records. So to have 170, 200,000 consecutive viewers over on Rumble is as big as it gets, even on places like YouTube. When Biden gives a live speech, it gets about 100 live viewers.
Yeah.
When Obama will give a live speech, you get about 5,000. So, I mean, this isn't just dominating conservative media, it's dominating media, and that's great because independent, populist, pro-human speech is popular, and we have to celebrate it, and that's why your victory is your listeners' and viewers' victory. It's all of our victory for independent media because you didn't go along with the censorship when I was having my head chopped off 4 and 5 years ago, like Conservative Inc. and the rest of them. And so that's why I really saw your perspective when you came out and said what you said, because we have to remember what those groups did previously, supporting the rollouts, the lockdowns, the forced injections, the censorship, all of it. Now they don't support it because we've won politically and the world's waking up.
Yes.
But
thank you, Alex. We have to
they're doing it once we're safe. I know you got all
the guest segment. It's a third. We're going to draft in
Alex,
with the topic.
he said hi.
I said hi. He's like my Def Comedy Jam pipe man. I did not pay him today. He's going to be like, yeah. So thank you.
It's like Ed McMahon that takes over the show.
You are correct, sir. Hey now, Alex Jones. Which, by the way, because Alex Jones is here and because I am here, we have the YouTube is on a 10-second delay. Mm-hmm. So if you see this at any point during the show, and you hear that music, that means that we can't run it on YouTube, and it is still available on Rumble. So migrate over there so you don't miss anything. And, of course, Dave Landau not here. We have Alex Jones today. But please go see his show this weekend in Greenville, South Carolina, March 24th, 25th. Go to greenvillecomedyzone.com. One of the best in the business. And, man, if you see him live, it's a treat. All right. We have a lot to get into here. First off, I guess a question of the day. This is foreshadowing. What is your favorite white supremacist brand of coffee?
Didn't know there were any.
Oh, they're all.
I had no idea.
It's a new study from AFRU.
What's that mean?
Yeah, I thought it was an acronym. It's not.
It's
It's AFRU.
Okay.
Yes.
They did the study.
They did the study. Not to be confused with AFRU PIC. That's an entirely different nonprofit.
Totally.
It's a C4, not a C3. But first, and I'm very curious, I know Mr. Jones is champing at the bit here. Here is a transgender, and to the best of our knowledge, this is not a troll. But in today's world, it's very hard to know. Mm-hmm. This is a transgender, beautiful, brave individual who identifies as Hitler.
People are essentially calling me every name under the sun because I had the Reichsadler on my jacket. So I need to tell you guys a little something about me. And you can call me crazy, you can call me whatever you'd like, any name under the sun. But I'm very in tune with my past and my past lives and lifetimes that I've lived before this one. Mm-hmm. My last life just so happened to be a very infamous one.
Adolf, his, her.
Me offing myself was one of the first memories I had from that lifetime. It came to me when I was 5 in my nightmares. You can see right where I shot myself, too.
So this is a big Kanye West
So many
fan.
other things throughout my life have connected me to my past. And you can go say, oh, go get on your meds again, you nutter. I've been on so many meds, and none of them have changed what I saw when I was 5.
Well, I guess salutes to Mind Fury Mein fake Kampf. That is, I don't know if it's real or not. Do you find it hard, Alex, now with some of these? You're like, is this a troll? And then half the time you find out it's not a troll.
Well, yes, they're so insane, and it's unbelievable. But at the end of the day, it's mentally ill people trying to get attention.
Yeah.
And I'm like that, so I'm like them. I understand why they do it.
Yes. You in your past life, were you Goebbels? Was that what your past life?
Oh, that's not my past life. I'm actually a clone of Goebbels.
Are you right now?
Oh, wow.
People didn't know that.
That
I identify as Joseph Goebbels.
It happened to me when I was a kid. I used to have trouble sleeping, and because I went through growth spurts, so they thought I was having like leg cramps. Turns out I was Himmler.
That's right.
Wow.
So, look, it happens to the best of us, and it also happens to us. By the way, it's a live show, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. This is going to be fun. I'm glad. Alex is
We
always
need
fun.
memes with his hair on mine. I need your hair.
Done.
Your wish is the internet's command. I guarantee
it'll
you.
happen.
You guys can send it in. It's a live show Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Notifications don't work on YouTube, okay? They do on Rumble. So, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We have shows on Friday now. Of course, every
yeah,
Friday
we
now.
do it.
Mug Club. We have Nick DiPaolo. We have specials coming from Brian Callen, Jim Brewer, Mr. Guns and Gear.
By the way, this is so good, though. I got to say that incredible music bit you did at the intro, that documentary about the pedo president was incredible. You guys got to put that on Spotify. It'll go to #1.
It won't go to #1, but it'll be there.
But I like
It will exist on Spotify. First half was correct. You're far too kind. People, they say, hey, is Alex Jones far too kind? I say, yes.
He is far.
No, listen, this happened with a lot of the fan music they've made of mine. They put it a couple years ago on Spotify, and it would get like 10 million views, and they take it down.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm serious. I think you guys should put an album out of your
We do.
musical
We have
hits.
an album on Spotify. If you're on Spotify, you can go and actually, if you're subscribed to the podcast, go and listen to our album. We do Parody Week in September.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've done a lot of them. It takes a lot of work.
I mean, I
to
do
those.
Parody Week in September. I just didn't know that it was on Spotify. That's good.
Yeah, well, no, see, great, crazy minds. Both of us. It's okay. Yeah, I can say you're crazy because I'm crazy too. We're all a little bit nutty. So, yes, it is, of course, go to Rumble. 1 month free of Mug Club. That's what makes all of this possible, by the way. It's what makes any of this possible. The parodies, the sketches, the research, all references are available at ladderscutter.com/ well, I guess, no, just hit the link.
It's at madmaxworld.tv.
It's at madmaxworld.tv, and you're broadcasting at noon.
Yes. Do not visit madmaxworld.tv.
Do not visit madmaxworld.tv. Do you see what we're saying there?
Raving psycho.
It's reverse psychology.
You almost got me.
Opposite day. Sorry, he did. He almost got me.
I just paused.
All right. Speaking of this, and again, we're going to get to coffee. By the way, are you a big fan of Lindsey Graham? Trick question. I know the answer. You're not. So, I didn't need a soliloquy. The answer was no. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean.
Well, I do have a crush on him.
Do you?
As a fellow gay man,
Yes.
I mean, I would date him if he. That's why I'm mad at him. I asked him to date me once, and he said, "Oh yeah, well,
He's more of a Rachel Levine guy.
exactly."
Yeah. But
Ew.
there could have been separated at birth in the Slimer triplets. So. Let's get to.
Slimer.
Have you seen it? Let's bring that up. If Alex Jones didn't see it from yesterday's show on Mug Club, the side by side of Rachel Levine and Slimer, it's uncanny. But
get it. Yeah, well,
Dylan Mulvaney. Now you know Dylan Mulvaney because you have to. But Dylan Mulvaney now, and this is where I think this is important because all of these things are acceptable. The left will say, well, that's probably a troll the Hitler thing. Well, I don't think it's any more absurd than Dylan Mulvaney now dressing up like a 6-year-old girl from a children's book, and I'll give you some historical context as to why this is disturbing.
I am Eloise. I am 6. I'm a city child. I live in the Plaza
Said I'm
Hotel,
sick?
which is huge and wonderful and très elegant, especially at Christmas time.
Casey got sick.
So now you can comment below, please do, and hit the like button. Again, it helps the algorithm on YouTube because people want to tell you that we're dead. If you think this is crossing a line, now this is not the first time that this has happened. And by the way, in the past that this has when it happened, it was treated as legitimate. You may not remember this, but the media roasted all the critics of this person, Stephanie, spelled Steph-on-knee. This person actually went after me a long time ago on social media as well. They identified as a 6-year-old girl. And then it turned out, by the way, that they were a sex slave with the adoptive parents. There were all types of sexual images, which we're not going to show to you. You can
Right.
find on the internet, but said, I just identify as a 6-year-old girl. And everyone said, hey, hold on a second. This was a man who fathered children, left his family. You know,
Yeah.
he can now identify however he wants, so long as she is happy. Turned out the adoptive parents were doing weird sex tricks with Steph on knee. So the writings, right. We can see the tea leaves here.
Yeah, exactly. In days past, this would have been cause for concern. Maybe do some investigation, check in on somebody, and see if they're okay mentally. Now it's like, well, yeah, I guess that's fine.
Sure.
Well, would you like to come to the White House?
Imagine being Dylan Mulvaney's doctor. Oh, what do you do? It's like, well, your testosterone levels are a little bit off for a woman, and your BMI is a little under. Just you know what? Here's a prescription for whatever you want. Take my pad.
Well, you guys just said it.
Yourself.
This is a mainlining of blurring the lines, and it's a whole leftist movement. Not just a few people that say they identify as children so they then get access to them. I see articles every day where, quote, transgender men get busted just a few days ago in Kentucky doing things with the babies. And, like, it's a dude that says they're a woman, and now it wants access to babies. I mean, and then you look at these people, forget whether they want to be a woman or not. Just if you were walking down the street at night and saw a person that looked like this, they look like the Joker. They don't look like women. They don't look like men. Right. And so it's basically like It the Clown's coming to take...
This is why the attempted suicide rate doesn't improve statistically. You can check all the references. We've always provided these because they're not recognized really as men or as women. You cannot control society. You can't force them to say, oh, yeah, it's just like Kim. It's just like Riley. It's just like Andy. Any of the women who work here, you go, all right, I now have to walk on eggshells because I don't know what's going to happen next. And
notice it's the new religion, though.
Yes. Yeah.
It's literally a religion that you can't criticize because it's so preposterous. And so even South Park would criticize it 5-10 years ago. Now they don't even do it. So again, if I wanted to identify as a dolphin, I don't hurt anybody, it's fine. But I'm not really a dolphin. I could go have an artificial fin put on my head, and I could sit there and say my name is Flipper and go,
You're too hairy for a dolphin. Which you used to swim in high school. How did you do? Did you have to go for like a full-on sugar wax? Because you got the Robin Williams furriness going on.
You know what's happened to me? As I got older, I just get hairier and hairier like a Turkish man.
Yes.
and
it's not a good trade-off. It's not a good trade-off. We start losing hair here and gaining it on our back.
Everywhere else.
I was about to say, it's the old joke. You lose it on the top of your head, and all of a sudden you go to your nose and your ears.
Yeah, I have nose hair. Yeah. That's why I'm grateful for Manscaped. So let's go through Dylan to attest to that point. Dylan Mulvaney, I would say, is not because this person is trans. Dylan Mulvaney, the individual, this should be acceptable, clearly not mentally well right now. If this were anybody else, you would say, okay, hold on, maybe there might need to be some type of help, some type of assistance provided here. Let's look at the evidence of this as a person who clearly has been clamoring for attention. This is narcissism at its peak. That's Dylan Mulvaney back in the day.
Totally normal.
75 of being a girl, and I've been carrying around tampons and pads for the past 2 months, but I've actually never opened one up.
I wonder why.
Let's do it. Woohoo! I thought the letters stood for small, medium, and large based on the size of your Barbie pouch, but after Google, I found out it's actually the level of your flow. When I have extensions in, I don't know my name. I don't know where I live. I just know that I love
That's a sign that you have problems.
And I know that I look like I could steal a husband, but I want to promise you, look me in the eyes. I want to promise you that I would never do that to you. Okay, I am a girl's girl.
Hide your husbands, ladies.
Oh my gosh. That's sanity.
Yeah. And hold on a second. I don't know that that's a side effect of a typical side effect of putting in hair extensions.
I don't think so.
Forgetting your name or where you live. If someone turns on the microwave, you piss your pants, forget where you are for a second. I don't think that's typical with hair extensions. I think it usually just makes your hair longer.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've got hair extensions.
Yeah.
And that didn't cause that problem at all.
I have hair extensions on my trap hair. I love
you guys need to go with little earbud pieces, though, because I look like Princess Leia with these on.
No. Now that's another Photoshop.
Yeah, that's the other.
Hey, comment below. Do you like him looking like Princess Leia? That's Stephanie. We can merge Stephanie and Alex Jones, Princess Leia. And hit the Rumble button. Smash that if you're on Rumble.
Yeah, ooh, we can have a beauty contest. You and I and Stephanie. Who's the more beautiful woman?
You're supposed to be here tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Done.
I saw those wigs and things, and it's such a fashion. I'm thinking about... I actually lead a double life as a woman. My name is Alexis.
Okay.
And I'd like to premiere it tomorrow.
A little lazy with the name change, didn't you? That's the easiest one. You could get a little more creative than Alexis.
Alexandria, maybe?
Alexandria.
There we go.
Ocasio. And
Lexi.
Ooh. Stop it. Come on, I need a focus. 1 month free of Mug Club.
I will tell you this: there's a lot of beautiful women work here.
Yes, there are.
So I got a better idea for tomorrow's show. What?
Whoa!
No, we can have them.
We do have a lot of beautiful women who work here.
That you're being politically correct. They're allowed to be part of a beauty pageant as well.
Yeah, but the problem is they're not going to want to be next to Lexi.
Beauty pageant, and they'll have to enter against us, and I'll be given the award, so it's politically correct.
Who bet on the third chair when Alex would go off the rails?
I think what's the over Yakuza won that one.
No, it's fun. Isn't it fun seeing Alex Jones have fun?
Yeah.
It's great. Plus, all the references are available, so you know that you're getting the information correct. Okay, here's something else. This is not a joke. I sound like Joe Biden when I'm saying that. Joe, former Vice President, pedophile Biden. According to an article from the esteemed publication AFRU, as previously mentioned. Esteemed. If you drink coffee, you're a racist, and that's because coffee has its roots, according to AFRU. As far as I know, this is not an acronym. Colonialism. It's rooted in colonialism, with AFRU very confidently stating, the global coffee company was created through colonialism, the white supremacist system under which European countries invaded, subjugated, and exploited the countries of black and brown people. Now, I know that sounds absurd, that we should have seen the writing on the wall with the original iteration. Max Schmelinghaus, that was one that should have, that's on us, that we missed it, but the exception does not prove the rule. If you're listening on audio, that makes no sense. Now, if you drink specialty coffee, you're an even bigger racist. See, here's the thing. We could find common ground, because if you drink specialty coffee, you're a hipster and everyone wants to beat your ass. But in this case, they try and say you're a racist.
Well, you don't need to be racist to be shunned from community.
Yeah, and I do drink specialty coffee.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a coffee company
really?
coffee
No,
from
you
Jeremy.
don't.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So here's what they write. The very acceptance of the term specialty coffee suggests that some coffee is somehow superior to others. An idea that is rooted in whiteness. Hey, hold on a second. Think of how racist this is. AFRU, the esteemed colleague there, I'm sure peer-reviewed, I'm sure they have a control group here. They conducted a control group, and the control group was just assholes. So the idea that something is superior to others is whiteness. It's white supremacy. Hold on a second. There are basketball players that are superior. For example, LeBron James is superior to everyone here, pretty much everyone on earth, with the exception of Michael Jordan. If you go back through history, let's just throw some chum in the water, because I know you guys are going to argue about it. By the way, LeBron, Michael Jordan, you comment below. We're not talking baseball. So the idea that something is superior is racist. It doesn't apply when there are clearly examples of black people or Asian people being superior to your basic bitch white person. For example, land speed records. You cannot find a Polish or an Irishman in the 100-meter dash. They are all black.
Nary a one.
They are superior athletes if you look at the top 10 compared to the white people who were running at that point in time. Superiority is based on performance, unless you view it through the lens of, hold on a second, it must be superiority based on race, which doesn't even make sense with coffee. None of this makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. I read through the article a little bit, and I hate myself for having done so.
Good for
but
you.
It did say that here's why, because on slave ships, they brought coffee over, so that's one of the roots. And also when slaves, obviously, right, slavery bad, we have to say that apparently every single time that we mention it, they actually brewed and served coffee. So that's how it has its roots in racism. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much every product on the planet. Like, I think you also served water to people.
I was about to say water. We've got to ban water now.
I'm pretty sure you also served slaves to people.
How about
guys, we know where this all came from.
Slavery was okay.
This is all liberation theology, the Carnegie Endowment.
Yes.
In the 1940s, they said, how are we going to divide America and get them to accept communism? But communism that corporations control, where they're above it, but use it to basically monopolize society. And they said, we're going to create racial and cultural divisions and fissures at every level. So for someone that's not been brainwashed, this seems ridiculous. But for young people in high school, in college, they actually believe that everything's racist, everything's evil, everything's out to get them. They don't understand that they're being programmed with a playbook by the real anti-humans that want to divide and conquer us.
Yeah.
So this all seems nonsensical, but they're being funded with grants, guaranteed, all these groups are, to put out this nonsense. It's a playbook. They're not idiots. They're not whacked out leftists. This is a playbook to screw people up.
No, you're right. It's a lie. And that's the same thing when we talk about COVID. People say, oh, they might have not communicated. No, they lied to you. Also, something important to note, by the way, coffee is a very important export in many countries in Africa, by the way, particularly like Ethiopia, Kenya, South America, obviously. And if you want to talk about the history of coffee and slavery, I don't know if you know this, but there was something called the Boston Tea Harbor, where Tea Party, in the Boston Harbor, where we dumped tea into the water and decided to switch to coffee, which actually was kind of a good thing that the Tea Party happened before they had switched to coffee. Can you imagine the damage that would have been done on a few cups of Joe as opposed to that weak-ass tea? they switched over, which then, the United States did have a civil war to end slavery. Before that, you were part of the English colonies,
Well, and
and
let's
you
be
provided
honest.
tea, whatever they wanted. Tea is the same thing.
Yeah.
People came to the West, and all the groups were here killing each other. Europeans were in Europe killing each other. The Native Americans were here killing each other. The people in Asia were there killing each other. The Aborigines were killing each other. Humans are all the same. We act the same way over and over again. But yes, it's true. The Westerners came here for gold and silver and tobacco and coffee and all these things, and tomatoes and potatoes. None of that was in Europe. Right. And that's why we started the trade out of the Middle East into Asia to bring all those great spices over. So remember AOC about 5 years ago? She said we need to get rid of cauliflower. It's racist because it's white. Mm-hmm. And folks, if you think I'm joking, she said we need to plant.
I'm okay with that one though. I don't like cauliflower.
But that's my point is, it turns out it's from Africa. By the way, I like cauliflower with cheese sauce and stuff on it. The point is that she knows what she's doing. They're territorializing and making everything where young kids hear this and go, oh my God, it's a white vegetable. It's evil. I mean, this is mental illness, folks.
Yeah, well, also cauliflower is probably not good for you with cheese.
Yeah. Really?
Well, it's good for you with cheese. It's probably not the cheese whiz. It's not if it's 90% cheese.
It's like the salad that I dump bacon into. It's no longer healthy.
All right. So back to the topic at hand. So I
by
don't
the
know
way,
if you know
slave
this.
masters ate pork, so that's racist too.
Actually, there's still rules, I believe, in the books in Maryland that you can only serve slaves shellfish, crustaceans, maximum of 3 times a week because it was slave food, like lobster, crab, because they were out on the boats. And I don't know if it's still in the books, but I know it was in the 1990s. So here's another thing, by the way. This doesn't just come from AFRU. Here's someone making the same point, but in a way that is self-effacing, that's friendly, that bridges the gap. Shaq, I don't know if you know this, he actually talked about turning up his nose at the idea of coffee because he said, black people don't really drink coffee. Here you go.
So you've had a lot of great business deals. One of your biggest business regrets, Starbucks and Howard Schultz. Tell the story.
Such a giant.
So my agent calls me up and he says, Howard Schultz wants to do business with you. And I'm like, coffee. Because growing up in my household, never seen a black person drink coffee. So it was my thought process that black people didn't drink coffee.
Well, a big swing and a miss there, Shaq. But Magic Johnson, along with his very successful movie theaters, he did invest. He was the owner of over 100 Starbucks locations, which again just shows you that, hey, black people are allowed to have differing opinions, differing investment mindsets, opportunities. But it looks like, by the way, Shaq may have actually known a little bit better than Magic.
Meanwhile, what's not racist is 100,000 down a year from fentanyl, the schools all basically failing, war in the streets, and then meanwhile, leftists are telling us, worry about coffee, it's evil.
Well, sure, but here's the thing, though. There are some companies.
Yeah.
We do need to be fair here. There are some companies, coffee companies, that surprise us that are incredibly racist, and we actually have exclusive footage. Hootie, who experienced this in the office, made us aware of just how racist coffee has become.
13% of the population commits 52% of the...
Well, that doesn't seem like it should be a commercially available product.
No, I didn't know they had talking cups like that.
No, it's once you pop, the racism don't stop. So God help you, by the way, if you also want to drive to go get a coffee, because apparently driving in a car perpetuates income inequality. This is from Salon. Among the poorest Americans who cannot afford cars, nearly half of all their trips occur without any form of motorized transportation, while more than a quarter will occur using transit. Well, hold on a second. Don't you want people to not use cars?
That's what I thought.
Well, that's all 15-minute city stuff.
Right.
That's their excuse to get rid of the cars because if everybody can't have them, you can't have them.
Right. So we have coffee now. Now we have cars. And by the way, they're saying the same thing that we've said, only they're decrying it racist. I've been saying living in big cities is what leftists want you to do. Why? Yeah. Because they want you poor. They want you dependent on government transportation. And they're saying, look at people who are poor. They're dependent on government transportation. Right. So are you encouraging them to move out to the suburbs? Are you encouraging them to live autonomous, self-sufficient, rural lifestyles? No. You want them in those cities, and then bitch about environmental racism because they live in big cities where there's smog in the air. Then bitch about the fact that they don't have cars because it must be racist. Hey, guess what? Everyone out there, black, red, yellow, white, if you follow our advice, live out somewhere where you have your own car, where hopefully you can grow your own food, or at least go to a grocery store and not become the victim of a knockout game.
That's what Thomas Jefferson said. He said the way to unify the country, and he envisioned it into slavery. He even wanted to put it in the first Declaration of Independence and then the Constitution, but he was unable to get it through. But he envisioned everybody, even if you lived and worked in the city, you should have some type of farm outside town because it created a unity of culture and a yeoman farmer system. And he said if the public ever got domesticated by not knowing how to farm and cut off from the land, that we would basically degenerate into what we are now. Yeah. So it literally is a moral issue to be tied to the land.
Yeah. Well, even look at the Model Cities program, right? We look at what happened under Lyndon Johnson. Detroit was a beacon of freedom. They picked Detroit as the model city. They said, hey, we want to launch this Model Cities for central urbanized planning. What do? Detroit's the wealthiest city in the country. Let's take credit for it and destroy it. Hey, Alex, I want to hear you tell people to smash the Rumble button who are watching right now.
I want you to crush that Rumble button right now like you are punching the deep state right in the nose. They can't stand it. And Rumble's leading the fight when it comes to allowing free speech and then devastating the corporate giants. So free speech is here.
And I'll get you the guy's number there, Rumble, because I know you said you lost it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they're good people. They really are. They're free speech people. We have a month of Mug Club free. Why are you guys you knew this show was going to be this way.
It's awesome. I love it.
Hey, I'm being pretty subdued.
No, I get it. It's just we have to draft them with these otherwise it'll be a 2-hour show. And you'll be here tomorrow as well.
Look, I skipped the Adderall today, okay?
Did you? I don't think you did.
I always do. Yeah.
Liar! You can get it done
this next segment's set up for you.
This next segment is, it's T-ball.
Hey, I'm totally happy. I'm just saying I'm behaving myself.
Yeah,
I want to go shoot the Walther.
No, we're not going to go shoot the Walther because we're in a
highly
residential
illegal,
area.
Alex.
Like the time you came here and landed on the street in your helicopter, a residential street. You know I had to deal with cops after that.
I wouldn't admit to that, Alex.
That's true. No, he did not. He landed on a farm that Thomas Jefferson once owned.
Allegedly.
Thomas Jefferson said, if everybody has a helicopter,
yes,
everybody needs a Black Hawk. That's how you get to the rural area that way.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
I'm not going to drive 2 hours to this ranch. 30 minutes.
No, 30 minutes in a helicopter. Yeah, absolutely. All you need is $1 million.
The reason I was here in a helicopter, it's not my helicopter. The reason I was here in a helicopter was because
the weather.
It was the roads were closed. Remember that was the blizzard.
Yeah, I know,
but Democrats
but you didn't have to come here in a helicopter. I told you we could just have you next week. You were like, don't worry, Crowder, I'm already on my way. I was like, all right.
I think that actually happened.
It did happen. It did happen that way. I talk about it in my stand-up. I have like 10 minutes of Alex Jones stories. Next time I'm in Austin, we can go over. And people love it. When I say your name, they go absolutely nuts. Okay, this one's teed up for you. It's T-Ball, okay? Lindsey Graham.
Oh, yeah.
So he was on The Daily Show last night, hosted by Al Franken. For those of you who don't remember Al Franken, this guy. Do you have it there? Yeah, that guy. So he said some really dumb things about Ukraine. And this is where you see the increasing disconnect, not just between the deep state, as Alex calls them, or the establishment, if you want to call them that, not just Democrats, but even Republicans who claim to be your representatives and the average American conservative with our views on the Ukraine, which brings us to this week's Insane in the Ukraine. Alex thinks he's on an acid trip.
No, every time I see the Zelensky clip and then I know it's real and I found even more stuff, it's not bad that he's in high heels and leather dancing and grabbing men's butts. It's that the word is there's a lot more than that going on. And so just like Macron, they've been put in power because they're totally compromised.
I miss the days when it was just Dominic Strauss-Kahn got a little handsy.
Exactly. Well, and here's the deal. At least he's not groping small children.
Yes.
Well, yeah,
he's just grabbing men's butts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look,
I'm not even sure that's him.
I don't even know if that's true.
It did look like him.
So, okay, speaking to Franken, Lindsey Graham, and I want to hear your opinions on this here regarding Ukraine and Russia. And I understand that it's more nuanced, to use the word that a lot of people use when they want to.
You know, Lindsey Graham has a crush on Zelensky.
Okay, so.
A World War III crush. He loves war.
There you go.
There you go.
There's the lab. Because here's Lindsey Graham. Thank you for laying it up for me. Advocating the United States join the war in Ukraine.
Let's find some common ground. For example, Ukraine. We both believe that this is in the vital interest of the United States.
That's common ground, right?
It's a bold move, Cotton.
And he should be in jail. How about that? I'm trying to be helpful. I think the Ukrainians need F-16s yesterday. I think I would do more on the military front, but we're in it together, right? I want to help the administration where I can.
So here's something that I know that Al is just going to want to get into, right? Yeah. So Graham wants to send F-16s. Okay, he wants to do more militarily. Here's something that you should know. Not saying this would be why, but Lockheed Martin, the maker of the F-16, is one of the top donors to Lindsey Graham.
Oh, whoops.
And, of course, Graham has other justifications for the unending support of Ukraine, which, look, can we all agree here? Like, this is, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. As far as I'm concerned, these are two bags of crap fighting each other. Ukraine is not a bastion of freedom and democracy, and certainly Russia, I'm no fan of Putin. Not a fan of either. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's fair, and this was an entirely avoidable problem.
Yes.
It's a Slavic civil war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia actually started in Ukraine over 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
It's a whole story about how that happened. Then the Muslims took over for a while. All that was left was the Moscow tribe. They came and kicked the Muslims out after 100 years.
Yeah.
Became the big heroes. That's the founding of Russia is in Ukraine. So, yes, you've had the Catholic and the Orthodox side for since then, since the liberation, battling for 800 years or so over who's going to run it. And it is an ancient, basically Crips versus Bloods.
Right, exactly.
So they're the same genetics,
yes,
but they're fighting over colors.
And you can say that Putin and his offensive maneuver and him attacking is horrible, but you can also identify that, you know what, there's a certain percentage of Ukrainians who identify as ethnic Russians. In other words, there are some complications here that you may not understand as Americans, and I just don't believe that we should be sending over bodies or money. It's not our war. You comment below and let me know what you think. Of course, Lindsey World War III Graham, that should be his new nickname,
it is,
has other justifications. So let's go through the claims here as to why Lindsey Graham thinks we need to get more engaged.
There's also a lot of irony, too.
Yes, and we'll get into that. So here's claim number one, is that saving Ukraine is the equivalent to saving democracy.
He's trying to destroy a neighboring democracy. He hates democracy, Putin. And I will just say this to President Putin. If you invade the Ukraine, you will destroy the ability of future presidents to treat you and Russia as normal. You'll long for the good old days of the Cold War because every president in the future will pound you. And every Congress in the future will pound you if you dismantle this democracy. So be careful what you wish for.
Think a lot about
pounding. That's what I was going to say. Wishful thinking.
Big into
pounding.
Pound me.
Pound you.
Yes.
Oh, McCain, pound me.
Yeah, dang it. My friends. I'll pound my friends. So.
Get in here. Get on the desk.
Bring
Lindsey,
it in.
Lindsey, get on the desk.
Lindsey, get on the desk. But not above my shoulders. Not above my shoulders. Pound you on the desk.
You're hurting my legs.
Let's wheelbarrow so I can do this. I get it. Just don't say, oh, you're not. No, it's just we're talking about. I don't care. Whatever. You can go watch it on Rumble because YouTube can piss off. So here's the truth. Ukraine is hardly a bastion of democracy. Again, all references are publicly available at louderwithcrowder.com. You can check the references below.
They've outlawed all political parties, including ones that are pro-war.
Yep.
They have taken over all the TV, all the radio, all the media and unified it. If anyone even criticizes the war, they're locked up in camps. And Zelensky's now banned the oldest church in Ukraine, the Orthodox Church.
There's a little bit more to that, though, the Orthodox Church and their ties with Putin, right?
Well, certainly, it's all the same, yeah.
Yeah, but they also, by the way, with all of that said, Ukraine is rated as the second most corrupt country in all of Europe. Russia's number one. That's why I say, let's break off the pool cue and let's have tryouts. I don't care at this point. And by the way, the rankings are determined by public sector corruption. So that includes bribery, unlawful, unethical practices. If you're talking about money laundering, this is something that is well known. It has been documented by even the international governing agencies who really, really want you to go to war for Ukraine. So saving Ukraine is saving democracy? Not exactly.
Not exactly. And by the way, this is the country that wants you to believe Hunter Biden is worth millions of dollars a year.
Oh, my word.
Charisma.
Yeah. Here's another truth. Democracy really isn't the main consideration when we're talking about foreign policy here. The U.S. doesn't have the power to defend every democratic movement in the world, nor should we, by the way. We tried, we failed over and over in the Middle East. You guys know that. That worked like a charm, didn't it? Yeah, you can't find it.
Well, that's what I was going to say about the full clip, because before we went live, your producer was showing me some of the clips we're going to be playing, and I'd already seen the clip, but Graham goes on to say, you can't just go and invade countries and rewrite their borders and put in new governments. That's you've got to go to war with a country that does that. And I'm just thinking, wow, the U.S. in the last century is the champion of doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe we had reasons. The point is, by his rules, then the United States is far worse than Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I would agree with it because the United States doesn't take over the land. In other words, I would say proof positive that the U.S. isn't just like Russia would take over Ukraine if they could. The fact is, Canada couldn't stop us if they tried their mighty best. We could take them over by 2 o'clock today. So, yeah, we kind of have these proxy wars, but then we maintain interest in trading as opposed to just actually taking over land.
Well, we just have the corporations take them over. Look, I love America and what's left of it. I'm not saying America is worse than Russia. I'm saying
no.
The irony of his statement that you can't just invade countries.
Right. Yes.
What are you doing?
To put a finer point
my
on
God.
it. Yeah. No, exactly. Now watch me advocate by proxy invading this country.
He's usually swinging by chandeliers. Attack, invade, invade.
Yes, like Diddy.
Pound them.
By the way, in World War
them.
II, the U.S. allied with the Soviets, right? And we keep allies like Saudi Arabia to hedge against Iran. Sometimes you ally yourselves with bad people. I understand that. The point is that the point is it's not as simple as democracy good, everything else bad, and certainly not as you're applying it to Ukraine and Russia, where neither one really has something like democracy, and they both have leadership that is incredibly bad, which you're not allowed to say in a lot of places on YouTube right now. This may be fact-checked as misinformation, right? Because they've decided to get rid of non-pro-Ukraine. Those are the words, not anti-Ukraine narratives.
Right.
Non-pro-Ukraine narratives. So if you're on YouTube, head on over to Rumble right now. Head on over to Rumble, and of course, we're going to be going for another full 45 minutes or hour with Alex Jones. Free Mug Club all month. LouderWithCreditor.com/Mug Club. We can flip them the bird as long as you join.
But do not visit MadMaxWorld.tv.
Right. MadMaxWorld.tv at noon Eastern.
Yeah, do not visit.
Because you will not be there.
You're not allowed to go to MadMaxWorld.tv.
You are not, and you won't be there.
I will not be at Infowars.com or anywhere.
You will not be anywhere.
I deserve to not be there.
Nothingness. All right, let's go on to the next claim with Lindsey Graham. Claim number 2. He says we have to stand up to Ukraine now, Alex, in order to deter China. Roll clip.
If you believe pulling the plug on Ukraine makes China less provocative, you should not be allowed to drive in South Carolina. So China's watching like
you shouldn't be allowed to drive in South Carolina, Mr. Cataracts in Chief.
I love that was the insult that he threw. You should
not be allowed to drive in South Carolina. Oh, so take away something else that we don't want to do.
It makes me racist if I drive. We just covered this.
Especially if I'm drinking coffee. So here's the truth. Our unlimited support and unwavering support to Ukraine, it actually hurts our ability to deter China. Now, again, this is the idea of short-term gains. Which,
it supercharges China. It unifies them with Russia. It forces them to do deals in oil and gas and with India. Blowing up the Nord Stream only helped Russia increase their overall sales prices. And as you pointed out, almost all of our weapons are now depleted.
Right. That's exactly the point. Right. So this is actually a quote, I believe, from Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy and Force Development, Elbridge Colby, said that if we could favorably end the war quickly, that would be great, but what realistic prospect is there of that? Sending Ukraine some F-16s is not going to alter that. It's a massive war of attrition, and Russia is gearing up for a long war. And like you just said, here's a really uncomfortable truth. Right, you've galvanized sort of China to side with Russia. We talked about that. We did a whole hour segment not that long ago with you and Ginger Snap. So
Xi Jinping's there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right now, this very moment. Yep. I don't know how to do the time difference. I can't go through the anguish of adding 6, whatever the hell it is.
I don't think
so
6.
Supplying the Ukraine with weapons. Look, this is something that you need. The economy is not a zero-sum game, right? You can build more pies. You can't just build more carriers. You can't just build more. It's very expensive. It depletes our weapons stockpile. Yes. So this was also something Colby commented on, saying, arguing right now that we must defend Taiwan by defending Ukraine strains credulity. It doesn't make much sense. If the war goes on, continuing to sap the United States resources and resolve as China grows in strength in Asia, the argument will become increasingly absurd. So we've so far spent or committed more than because I don't know what's spent versus committed, 113 billion, give or take a few billion to Ukraine. We've also committed an entire host of weapons.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this is just from the fact sheet, and Alex, you probably are super familiar with this, by the State Department, assuming we trust them. We have given the Ukraine over 1,600 Stinger missiles, 8,500 Javelin missiles, 54,000 other anti-armor systems and munitions, 100,000 rounds of small arms ammunition, 100 million, sorry.
Million.
Oh my gosh, I misread that.
You forgot some zeros.
Admonish me. Someone needs to admonish 100 million rounds of small. That's almost as many as you have on your Jefferson farm. And then hundreds of thousands of various other artillery. Does that sound about right as far as depleting our military, Alex?
Well, that's it. The United States is basically out of ammo.
Yeah.
And Russia's running out too, but as you said, they're gearing up. They're digging in.
Yeah.
And the war hawks are just licking their lips because, as you said, this is going to be, they're talking about $1 trillion defense budget.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just on defense.
Yeah. And we're depleted, and there was a recent grading that came out that said the United States military preparedness is at an all-time low as far as modern.
Well, and this is what pisses me off. The conversation that we had, Ginger Snap and I, it was a different conversation then, because if we could have ended this thing early, yes, end it. right? Immediately, Russia moves in and takes Ukraine. Immediately get it taken care of. If you let it go on, everything that Alex just said happens, right? We deplete munitions. We make sure that we don't have anything to be able to fight a war. But we also push China into the arms of Russia because these guys are enemies. They're not naturally bedfellows, right? And now the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so these guys are doing business together. That only makes it worse knowing that we're not going to put an end to this, that we're going to drag it out forever. And if you want to go take Taiwan, it looks like now's the right time to do it.
China?
Yeah. It just makes that.
And Taiwan actually matters to the United States more.
Yes.
Not saying that we necessarily need to get into a war, but if we wanted to be prepared for something that would affect the rest of the world, sorry, not you. We don't need Ukraine.
You have 80% of the trade going through the South China Sea.
Yeah.
And if you expand on that, Xi Jinping is literally there sizing up Russia and Putin's commitment to watch his flank when they move on Taiwan, and the word is they can move in the next few months.
Yeah, except Xi Jinping got stuck in a tree trying to get the honeybees.
Yes, he did. Oh, you're going to get in trouble
Oh,
for
bother.
that.
And by the way, if you want an actual strategic plan, it would be better to look at something like what Governor Ron DeSantis, and by the way, him and Donald Trump actually agree a lot as far as it relates to Ukraine. This is one area where they share quite a bit of commonality. Where he said, while the U.S. has many vital national interests, securing our borders, addressing the crisis of readiness with our military, achieving energy security and independence, and checking the economic, cultural, and military power of the Chinese Communist Party, becoming further entangled in a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia is not one of them. And he understands, obviously, there are trade-offs, and Graham understands the Lockheed Martin checks. And this goes back to Alex, when we were talking about, I was on your show. We were talking about sort of the issues here with why we went with Rumble. And please go over, and if you want to keep supporting what we do, like I said, join Mug Club. It's a month free. You get to see if you like it. If not, you can bounce. We constantly wonder, right? There's a lot of money in the conservative movement. We know that. There are plenty of people. There are a lot of billionaires. There are a lot of, and by the way, I'm not saying, a lot of them, their heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
But then you look at the people who represent you. We talked yesterday about Section 230. We talked about senators and congressmen and all this grandstanding, right? They have all of these Senate hearings, and then nothing actually gets done. When we had control of pretty much everything, the courts, the House, the White House, nothing was done with 230. You wonder why. Let me also ask you this. I've never met a Lindsey Graham fan. I've never met a Mitt Romney fan. I've never met a John McCain fan. I've never met a Paul Ryan fan. You're also hard-pressed to find a McCarthy fan. People say, okay, maybe win some, lose some. But the point is, how are these people always in the positions of greatest power within the party, and it completely disconnects with what you, the average American at home, actually believe? How is that the representative?
I have the answer.
I think you do.
It's called straight party voting. And they've been there 10, 20, 30, 40 years in the case of, the turtle, Mitch McConnell. And so it's just institutionalized that nobody really runs against them, or they've got 50 times the money. If they have a primary challenger, the corporate media blocks them out. And so in very rare cases, we're able to take them out. With Trump, despite all his issues, he was able to ride in on the populist Tea Party wave that built with Ron Paul and you and so many others and myself, countless others promoting freedom. That's what scares the Republican and Democrat establishment, is that what Trump rode in on is what could take over a party. And so we actually have a two-party system again. The Democrats, the party of globalism and communism and collapse in the New World Order. And the Republican Party is a mix of neocons and blue bloods and the new populist vein that's almost taken it over. So we're very, very close to actually having two parties again in this country. And that's why the power structure and the uniparty is so scared.
That's actually a very good point. We are close to having two parties again, because we'll say, man, the two-party system. No, we're not living with a two-party system right now. We are absolutely not. We really are in a uniparty system. The two-party system is certainly better than a parliamentary system. I come from Canada, where you can have Prime Minister Blackface get 30-something% of the vote. But I hope you like your weed as you sit in your 14-day quarantine in a camp. All right. We have and by the way, show Alex you love him there in the comment section, whether you're on Rumble or you're on YouTube, and let us know. Third chair is going to be rotating. Who else you want to see in there? We have a lot of people coming in here. It's always fun when Alex is in studio. Do not go to madmax.
Do not.
What is it? Madmax.tv.
It's madmaxworld.tv. That's just the latest URL, because they block our URLs all the time to try to we try to share the evil place you're not supposed to go at 12 Eastern today.
Yeah, where you won't be, and madmaxworld.tv doesn't exist. But this is an important story here. The D.C. Deputy Mayor John Falsiccio, if I have that right, Falsiccio, I don't care, resigned his post after facing, quote, serious allegations of sexual harassment. According to Axios, the allegations were not detailed, thank God, but involve unwelcome advances in sexual contact. And this might sound like local news, but we always think it's important to cover this behavior. Look, this is true, but there's also the flip side of that, which is you don't know what constitutes sexual misconduct, and it makes everyone nervous. Like you said, we have beautiful women in this office. I don't even look them in the eyes.
Man.
Well, you're also a married man.
What a
well, I also don't look any woman in the eyes, period, especially if they're white women. Black women you can compliment, say like, oh, you have beautiful, beautiful skin. Like, oh, thank you. They give you free stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. Remember a few years ago the Gillette commercials where it shows like a guy saying hi to a girl and the other guy stops him, don't talk to women.
Right.
They're trying to say men can't talk to women, but we can have drag queen time with men scantily dressed shaking their butts in front of little kids.
Yeah.
What a
See,
pussy.
I mean, come on.
Hey,
folks.
well, hold on a second.
Whoa,
what was?
whoa,
Hey,
whoa.
did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard what he
Did
said.
you just call him? Say it again.
What? I called him a pussy.
Okay,
oh, come
all right.
on,
No,
no,
you've got to go.
we've
We've all
got
got
an
to go.
HR guy
They got to
now.
go to you.
I
Gerald
did.
hired HR.
I did. I'm sorry.
But you can't talk
That
that way.
was
We have women in the
sexual.
office. We got to go
Back.
to HR. We'll be
That
back.
Get out of here,
gummit.
guys.
So you can see that as Mug Club expands, you really can't say those kinds of things.
No, I can't see why, Sam, at all.
Well, specifically, women don't react positively to using, as a derogatory term, their genitals.
Oh my God, you are the worst.
I know.
Who says it's derogatory?
Well, you use the word p as an insult.
So,
Using specifically something feminine as a slur is actually weaponizing gender language, and it can be perceived as sexist.
What?
So that it's gendered. That's
it's a gender problem.
It's a gender thing.
Sam,
yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was a gender
problem.
That's not the
Yeah,
problem.
no, that's
No,
that's the
we can
problem.
solve that.
We can solve that.
Yes,
problem.
we
I didn't
can.
want to target just one gender.
If it's gendered.
Yeah, especially if it's targeting one.
Well, do both.
Oh, you're a
What?
That's gendered.
Face.
All right. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Jeez.
Let's just
Man,
try
it's great you got HR like right there next door.
I'm not a fan of it.
No,
I don't know why Gerald
I'm
hired it.
Listen, I was trying to build an organization, okay? I'm the CEO.
Yeah,
Well, why don't we then actually move the lawyer in here? You can have the meetings right in this room.
Oh my
you would
gosh.
spend 5 minutes with Sam from HR and regret your statement.
You would, yes.
And he's the worst. He's the pits.
I think he's tough. I don't think he's a pussy.
No, he's not. He's not. I am.
We're going to have to go back, Alex. Be careful, please. We just got lectured.
We're gonna have to have him go to HR.
That's true.
All right. I'm wondering if we have time. Do we want to start the segment of Donald Trump and the
let's
voters
do
of
it.
color?
Do it.
Is there anything, by the way, going on out there, guys, with the Donald Trump arrests? You know, sometimes when we're in here,
Nothing yet.
like the outside world is sectioned off, so we have to let.
By the way,
them-
there's a great vibe in here. It feels I like the studio.
You kind of have to close off the world, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes we're like, if something is happening, you guys have to let us know. The air support.
Well, you know
out
what?
there.
I do want to ask him kind of his opinion on it, what he thinks. So,
Alex Jones?
Yeah. Well, so Alex, like obviously, we covered this yesterday, right? And we were talking about it. And I made the point today to Lane that it seems like he's playing 4D chess. And there's not a lot of people on the planet that can like out you for supposedly wanting to arrest them and then keep you from arresting them by doing it, right? It seems like that's what he's done because they haven't done anything, and it seems like they're kind of backing down. Do you think that's what was going on, or do you think they were ever going to arrest him in the first place?
Yeah, Alex, what do you think?
I believe that they intend to indict him today or tomorrow. But at the same time, the feds, years ago, before the statute of limitations ran out on this campaign finance issue of Stormy Daniels, didn't do it. So the statute of limitations is over by 2 years. It's all a fraud. It's all a stunt. But I think that they've got this Soros DA who's being pushed to do it, hoping that some of the other criminal investigations in D.C. and in Georgia go ahead if he breaks the ice. But yes, Trump is like an idiot savant, and I don't mean that mean. Some things he does are really genius, some things aren't. But yes, him coming out when the Secret Service was told, and we're getting ready, he's going to be indicted as early as next Tuesday, he called him on it.
Yeah.
He criticized it. And then I think some higher up Democrats and people said, look, it's going to make him more popular. He's going to get the nomination now. He's going to win by a landslide. It's already vaulted him up in polls like 15, 20 points ahead of DeSantis just since last week. And so it's blown up their face. But I, at the end of the day, think they're still going to be pig-headed. And either today or tomorrow or Wednesday go ahead with the indictment, but it's still up in the air because I think so much pressure is being put on that DA, even by smarter Democrats that are saying, listen, you are going to basically energize Donald Trump.
For sure.
Do you think there will be protests if he's indicted?
Oh.
Well, I've got an issue with Trump on that, and I'm not saying he didn't have the right to say it. I'm not saying he's wrong to say it, but I would have said it better. We got set up on January 6th. We know that now. A million people came there. A few hundred attacked the police. The police hit themselves with tear gas. We don't have the footage.
Yeah.
That's how the first breach happened. But then they waved in the other folks and have put almost 1,000 of them in jail. It's an American gulag. It's absolutely terrible. And then Trump says, take our country back, protest if I get indicted. Well, you could see then how some people will think take the country back, and then if some provocateurs do something, they can now point right at Trump and say, see, he basically pushed him to do this. So it does look like he's trying to use the public to push right up to the edge. And I think in this powder keg volatile situation we're in, we don't need to be like Antifa that just tried to burn down the police station in Atlanta 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We don't want to be like them out shooting people at four-way stops. So they want violence because they're losing hearts and minds. We don't want to be like Maxine Waters saying go out and get violent. We want to be the opposite. I get he's pissed. I get it's wrong. Someday there may be a 1776 issue where things are so bad we got to get physical. But I think we should exhaust all the remedies first. And I don't think if there is a violent revolution, it should be randomly attacking police or Capitol buildings. Of
course.
It should be how George Washington would do it. And I'm not wargaming that here. I'm just saying physical war is a very serious issue, and it shouldn't start in some riot.
Yeah. Which I don't think he wanted, but like you're saying, he didn't word it maybe prudently. There's one thing that's like, hey,
reckless.
protest, make your voices heard peacefully, which he did, by the way, on January 6th.
He did.
But this, just being in a written post, it'll be easy for the media to paint.
Well, he's got a lot of power. He's got a lot of power, and it'll allow them to plant provocateurs like Ray Epps again in there to provocateur some hotheads. And so it's like, listen, if you're filling up your tractor with gasoline and it's your farm, do you have a right to smoke a cigarette while you're doing it? Yeah, but it's probably something you shouldn't do.
Right.
And so he basically is lighting up a cigarette while he's playing with gasoline.
In light of January 6th, like you said, it's not obviously the events of January 6th, like you said, a handful of people, 100 people, a couple hundred people attacked the Capitol. It's not that. It's how they used it to make headlines.
Exactly. It's how they used it.
And why is he feeding into that narrative?
Right.
But of course, his first post had typos and stuff. It's kind of endearing that he was at 10 o'clock at night. He'd had like 6 or 7 Big Macs.
Right.
And, half a container of, what's the little speed pills he's always got on his desk?
What?
Sudafed.
Sudafed.
Oh, yeah.
Sudafed addict.
That's true.
I don't really know if he did the Sudafed.
Well, no,
I do know he likes Diet Coke. No, but he has every right to be pissed.
He does.
He has every right,
sure.
But yeah, I think we always
No, he is a Sudafed addict.
Oh, is he?
There's all these photos of him in his office. Like, you just see Sudafed
bottles everywhere.
Is that ephedrine in Sudafed?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I know, like in Broncaid and stuff for asthma.
Yeah.
But I do know he has every right to be pissed. And I think, like what you're saying, though, the media will take this, and it doesn't matter. In other words, now, no matter what happens, if there's an act of violence at all, they will blame it on Donald Trump.
He should have added one word: peacefully protest against this judicial tyranny, something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Because there are legal remedies to this to take care of this, right? And it is grandstanding. Like, the best possible picture for him to win re-election is Trump in handcuffs.
Oh, yeah.
If that picture
If
ever
they do,
comes
they're not
out,
going to do that. No, they're not going to do a perp walk. They can't do a perp walk.
There's no way.
Although it would be hilarious if he does an AOC and like fakes handcuffs.
fake-
Like, just kidding. I've been a crazy bitch.
Hell yeah. That's why there's separation of powers. We have a federal system. People say, oh, you're for the federal government. No, I'm federal system. For folks that don't know, I guess didn't go to school. It's 3 branches of government, and you have state and federal. And that's why the Secret Service is its own branch of the executive, and in many courts with a higher standing than a county or a district attorney. So they're there in negotiations that he won't be put in handcuffs. If they do demand to put him in jail a couple days, the Secret Service is going to stay in the jail cell with him.
Yeah.
And if he ever went to prison, it's never happened before. They're talking about having to create a whole wing where basically the emperor stays.
Right.
Because if you do that, again, any prosecutor could take out a president anytime they want.
Yes. Okay. Now let's do the Trump with voters of color. We'll do that on Mug Club, which, by the way, is free all month. FlatEarthColor.com/Mug Club.
And I can go really crazy now.
Well, hold on. We haven't left YouTube yet. So, but I do want to leave people this. Of course, it is MadMaxWorld.tv is where Alex Jones will not be at noon Eastern. But
and I will not be hosting out of your studio, and you will not be coming on the show.
No, well, that last part,
we will not drink a bottle of whiskey on air.
Okay. I don't know what's happening. So just give me a second.
Your dog co-host with me?
Give me a second. I do want to end with this, and it is MadMaxWorld.tv. We're talking about January 6th, guys, and before we go to Mug Club, this is one thing, too. I saw a lot of, during our absence, I sat there and I grew increasingly frustrated because I saw a lot of people acting surprised with what happened, the revelations of January 6th on Tucker Carlson. And let me be really clear about something. There were new angles of security footage with January 6th and Tucker Carlson. But we on this show, if you watch the show, within the first 2 months knew what had actually happened on January 6th. You knew that the QAnon shaman had been escorted in and said, we have to be peaceful. We talked about that. When I see people out there, and this is something that really does tie into why we are so happy, and it feels like a 10,000-ton weight has been lifted off my shoulders with Rumble, is we did an entire January 6th stream, actually, on Rumble. Remember that when, Gerald, there was the weather, so the hearing got canceled. And we took a risk, right? We said, you know what, this will be a low-watch stream because there is no event going on right now. We're not tying into something that's very topical. There is no actual hearing. But you know what? We're going to do it anyway. A 3 or 4 hour stream. You can go and watch it on YouTube or on Rumble right now.
There was a hurricane in Florida, so
there was a hurricane in Florida, so they stopped it, and we said, screw it. We're going to do it anyway. And we went through every single detail that at that point was publicly available, all of which, by the way, is basically, it was retreading when you look at what Tucker was talking about. Not that there's anything wrong. I like Tucker's show. I think he does a lot of great work. Sure, there were new angles, but the spirit of what actually happened January 6th was not new. 7 people were killed, officers. No. Then it was 5. Then it was 0. We knew that. We knew the only person shot was Babbitt. We knew that the QAnon shaman was someone who was very likely touched and was escorted in. He was welcomed in by the Capitol Police. Here's my issue, is when you have not just the left, but every single person on the right, until Tucker Carlson, when we were on break and I was champing at the bit, saying, we didn't know. How could we know? We follow this on such a granular level. We didn't know this about January 6th. Then you have to ask the question, why didn't they know? This is an entertainment show, and we knew, and we provided you all those references for months, really for years. When people who are, whether it's the Lindsey Grahams or whether it's some of the talking heads out there, tell you, we didn't know, these are revelations, and you've known it for a long time, where you've accepted it as fact, you do have to ask yourself, why? Why are we continually represented by people like Lindsey Graham, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan,
by the
whoever
way,
it is?
You made this point on my show last week. So before you go to Mug Club,
I was wrapping this up in a nice little, but go ahead.
No, I want to. This is important.
Okay,
and it's not about kissing you and your crew's ass, or saying how great InfoWars has been. Let's be honest about this, okay? When you came out against Conservative Inc., I think in a very nice, friendly way, but then proved your point later when they were saying things that weren't true. I defended you because you were one of the only people, I mean, the only big person, who defended me when I was getting deplatformed and had me on the day after and continued to after that. Before, you really didn't have me on much. You really came to my head because you realized we're all going to hang together and hang separate. And then all those other people actually supported it and then cheerleaded it and then turn around and act like they're not having contracts to control people. No. If they backed free speech in the past in the general area, then I'd say, okay, they can kind of have these predatory contracts because that's their business, okay? But you have a right to say you think it's bad. And I know I'm bringing up old issues here, but here's what viewers and listeners need to know of why this is such an important show. Everything else is too serious. They put out the truth and hardcore information, but make it fun. That's why the show's so popular and expanding. This is something we need in America and worldwide to promote freedom. You also have to understand, everybody that promotes liberty gets targeted. That's why most people roll over, like so many of the controlled conservative opposition groups, who, by having Steven Crowder and myself and many others out there on the front lines that don't compromise, we make it safe for them now to cover all the stories we covered a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And so it's not that, hey, you know, we're the originals and we're the best and we're the Mavericks and, you know, we are the top guy on the team. So just remember that. It's about understanding that the function that we serve and that you have served by supporting us, and I mean, you know, Stephen and my show, all of it, is the fact that we won't compromise when the big neck story comes out while everybody else sticks their finger in the air and, you know, sees what's safe and gets permission from big tech for what they can do. Ask mommy for permission. We're going to go immediately with what we believe is the information. Now, I'm right about 95% of the time. Crowder is so, and it's a good thing, neurotic about checking everything. He's right about 99% of the time. But the issue is we're trying to tell the truth. We're trying to get it right, and we're trying to be independent. All these other groups operate like politicians or like they want to be in Hollywood, and it's all about their career, not about our future and not having World War III and securing our borders and stopping the fentanyl and stabilizing the dollar and stopping all this crime and defending free speech. So that's why this is a revolutionary act to support Mug Club and Steven Crowder, and what Rumble's doing is beautiful, and what Elon Musk is doing is beautiful. And so that's what I'm saying. Support what Elon Musk is doing. Support Steven Crowder. Become a subscriber. Tell your friends and family to become subscribers. But whatever you do, don't visit madmaxworld.tv.
No, you absolutely should not. Certainly not. And I appreciate it. I didn't pay him a dime to say that, by the way, but I also would leave you with this. Do not take my word for it. When I say we've been talking about this for years, go back and check the references. If someone is telling you that they're providing you with facts and never having actually provided you with a referenceable fact that you can use for yourself, your antenna should go up. And that's a lot of people out there. Don't trust me. Don't take my word for it, because I wouldn't. That's why we provide all the references for you. And we are going to continue with Alex Jones on Mug Club, free all month. LouderWithCrowder.com/Mug Club. Just head on over to Rumble right now. If you're on Rumble, hit that button. Boom. We're going to keep going. Just right now, piss off YouTube.